Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Car Wash Magazine Live. I am your host, Matt DeWolf, as you can see by the words on the screen, and I am the editor of Car Wash Magazine. So look, friends, this is going to be a fantastic show for you. We've got a sneak peek, if you will, a kind of micro conversation coming up for you with Shawn Dubervac. So who's Shawn Dubervac? Well, he's not in the car wash industry. He's a technologist, he's a futurist, he's a trendcaster, a world-renowned keynote speaker and author of, I want to make sure I get this book right, Digital Destiny, How the New Age of Data Will Transform the Way We Work, Live, and communicate. So that's going to be really important as we think about where this industry is going, how our subscription models are changing things, and how the big data that we're collecting and we're starting to get from our customers, how we can leverage that into making lasting relationships with our customers so that they keep coming back to us, especially in a time of increased competition. So we're going to get into that really quickly here, my friends. But first, this week in car wash. You got it. All right, so I want to talk about something real quick for you that's a little bit different from what we normally talk about. Look, used cars are back up again, right? We all knew that the pricing for these things was high. August saw a decline for just a moment, but those prices have shot back up. That's largely due to increasing reductions of manufacturing of new cars. So a lot of that's coming down. That keeps happening. A lot of supply chain things are still kind of floating around out there. So what does that mean for you? Well, on the one hand, it does mean that supply chain problems are going to remain kind of a challenge for us, so we need to be watching that. On the other hand here, that this phenomenon is kind of pushing inflation and is a major contributor here in the U.S., so be watching that, be ready, be preparing your business for that as you move forward. But the good news in all this, my friends, is that there's going to be fewer new car technologies for you to have to deal with every day at your wash. So there's always a silver lining. That's the silver lining in this one. The other good news this week that's not related to what we often talk about is Tesla's car wash mode. I've seen that. Everybody's kind of getting used to that. If you got some tips on ways to educate customers around that, go ahead and drop that in the comments below, and we'll make sure that everybody is sharing with one another and getting better as we go. Now, let's talk a little bit about other news going on in the industry right now. You can see Express Wash Concepts up here. Their brand Clean donated more than $20,000. Let's get a picture up there for you of them. $20,000, friends. This is about more than washing cars. We say it all the time. But they donated this money to the Cleveland Indians nonprofit arm, their philanthropic arm. So I imagine at some point that's also going to change to the Cleveland Guardians philanthropic arm, but that's a whole different topic for a whole different show. Okay, so Soapy Joes, congratulations, guys. Last week we talked about how you were opening a new location. This week you guys are honored with an award in the talent management space and the training space for Soapy Steps of Service Training. So Soapy, obviously in this case, has to be an acronym, and so we'll get some information for you about what that acronym stands for. You can also read the full story on carwashmagazine.com to see what that award was about, why they won it, what's going on next. So, all right, now, let's see. We're going to go to something else big going on this week. We've got an announcement for you. Trueblue. You may have remembered we had Stu Crum on from Trueblue a couple of weeks ago in an episode. You can catch that full episode at carwashmagazine.com. Hey, giggity, giggity. They're entering the Texas market, friends, so here they come. They're specifically looking at Dallas-Fort Worth. They've announced their plans. They're coming in. So congratulations to Trueblue. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, get your A game ready and get yourself ready to compete here. And then we've also got, in the vein of things that are opening and things that are interesting, Foam Car Wash. You can see their beautiful logo right here. I love that branding here. Foam Car Wash is opened in Iowa, in Urbandale, Iowa, actually, which is near and dear to me because it's just north of where my alma mater, Simpson College, shout out to the Simpson Storm, where that's located in Indianola, Iowa. So let's take a look real quick at what that location looks like. It's beautiful, per usual, as they should be when they're brand new. Let's give a big congratulations to Foam Car Wash and their team for their work they've put into getting that open. Guess what? The Car Wash Show 2021 is coming up November 15th through 17th, and we need to talk about it, friends, because it's going to be amazing. I'm really excited. I've got some special things planned for you all in terms of what we do with this program at the show. We're going to take it live and in person. We've got some great prizes we're going to give away. You got to tune in to this show, though, so that you can get your chances to get access to those games and those prizes, because we're going to be putting some little Easter eggs in here for you. So check it out. Make sure you don't miss it. Why is this show in particular important? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, we haven't been together for a couple of years, and guess what? At this year's show, there are 90 plus new exhibiting companies. That's a number, friends. That's a big number. That is super exciting because that means that there are more opportunities for you to connect with the people that you need to take your business up a few notches, right? And whatever your vexing problem might be, that number of more companies, 90 plus new exhibiting companies, more people to help you solve your problems, more people to help you make your business better, and more opportunities for you to take something back from your experience at the Car Wash Show 2021 in Las Vegas. I better see you there. I'm going to have prizes. I'm going to have some game shows kind of stuff going on. I want to give you things. So, and if you're coming to the show, let me know. Drop it in the comments. I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. Speaking of Las Vegas, Pod Save Us All, we, on a recent episode of the podcast, did have a conversation with Scott Horner from Terrible's Car Wash out in Las Vegas about what's going on in that market. We talked a little bit about unmanned tunnels, a little bit of in-bay conversations. So check that out wherever you get your podcast content. Or as always, you can go to carwashthepodcast.com and consume that as well. In case you missed us last week, and it's possible, sometimes you miss our show, and that's okay. You can always watch us later. We were talking to Rob Hetherington and John Sproul. John Sproul from Camel, Rob Hetherington from Benny's. Fantastic conversation around onboarding and training. I highly recommend it. Great content in there. But I want to share one real quick thing with you from that episode around virtual reality training. Yes, friends, virtual reality training. Check out this little bit from Rob.
I went to Disney and I played this game there that was all virtual reality. I'm like, this is so much fun. So I'm like, how do I get people to want to learn to train? So we developed virtual reality training. Believe me, it was very off the cuff, and we brought a company in to do it all. But it looks great now. And you can put a set of goggles on a person, have them go through and see how the position is done and what's happening without them even being there. They can be in a classroom and they can see each of the sites. They can see how to change oil and an oil change, the basement. They can see how to guide on a car. We can do safety stuff. I've got a next round that we're going to shoot with this. Now that I've done it a little bit, I'm like, okay, we can make this better. So eventually I want to put them in a warehouse with the gloves on, and they can interact and wash cars. And that's where I want to go eventually.
Can you imagine that? Like, your training team comes together in a warehouse with the virtual reality goggles and the gloves, and they're learning how to wash cars and learning how to do all the things you need them to do in your business every day without ever having to be at the site. I mean, I think that's super cool. Kudos to those folks at Benny's continuing to innovate in this space. I mean, it's really amazing stuff. So nice ideas, a lot of great content in that episode. Make sure you check it out. Hey, I just said, if you're going to be at the show, we're going to be giving some things away. One of those things is going to be probably related to this We Got Jokes things that we do from time to time. We're not having an open mic, but we're going to have some competition for you around jokes. So send your jokes to mdewolf@carwash.org. We'll be giving away some prizes there. And just to wet your whistle, and just to get you excited, just to get your creative juices flowing, here's a little joke from one of our frequent contributors, my son Asher.
What did the right eye say to the left eye? Between you and me, something smells.
All right, everybody. Now joining me on the show is Shawn DuBravac. Shawn, welcome.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here.
Hey, Shawn, we're really excited for this conversation because we get to talk technology. And I'm way into that. A lot of people in this industry are pretty into that. And you're going to talk a lot about it at the Car Wash Show in November. So this is kind of like a sneak peek. We're going to give somebody like a session before the session. So I'm excited. Where should we start? Where are you really like jazzed up right now? What are you watching? Let's go there.
Well, there's so many things happening, and so many things happening in technology that are impacting all of these other industries. And I think that's the first key message and the first key theme to think about is, for a little while, technology was very isolated. It was kind of all about the technology, and that's where it ended. And now you really see it impacting all these other industries. And the car wash industry is a great example. You've seen a lot of technology come into the business, and as a result, the business has changed. And I think that's another kind of key aspect, is that when technology starts to change these environments, it actually changes the underlying business. And so business owners need to be cognizant of that. I think one of the areas that I think is very exciting is around digital data and the digitization of these environments. And I like to say that we're moving from digitization to datafication.
Oh,
and
wow.
so as we first digitize these environments, now we're going to get all of this digital information and all of this data. And that's what's really going to propel these businesses over the next decade.
Well, yeah, and just how you start to use, I mean, it's like, I like that datafication. It's like gamification, but datafication. So I like that concept. I think that a lot of folks in this industry right now are seeing that as they, because we now have subscription programs, and because you're starting to get customer data that way, and because you're starting to have access to this stuff, but now we got to figure out, like, what do we do with it? Like, how do we leverage that, and how do we create a some sort of a life cycle journey with that? But let's come back to that. I want to go. You were talking about how businesses change with this technology, and one of the things that I think is super fascinating that you and I were speaking about in preparation for this was weather, right? And so, car wash. Historically very dependent upon weather, very up and down depending on what's going on. The subscription models have helped us kind of level that out. But you've got an interesting take on just kind of demand prediction and some technology around how you can use weather in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to just being another source of data. And you may feel like you're in the car wash business, but you're really in the data business today. And I would argue restaurants are in the data business, retailers are in the data business, everyone's in the data business. So you think about, how do we drive business forward? We need people coming into the car wash, and we need them, signing up for subscriptions. We need them partaking in the services. And we have all of this data available to us. We're just not really utilizing the data like we could. And weather, I think, is a great example. You think about how influential weather is on so many things. It dictates whether we're buying ice cream or hot chocolate. It might dictate whether we're, getting a car wash or not. And so all of that information could really help predict what demand looks like for a given day, for a given week. And the thing about weather is, we have forecasts for it. We have forecasts for it, for the day ahead, the hour ahead, the week ahead. Look, IBM bought the weatherchannel.com. Why did they do that? Because they got access to a tremendous amount of historical data, and now they're building forecasts around weather. They want to be able to predict weather within 5-mile radiuses every 10, 15, 20 minutes. So you can get real-time forecasts of what the weather is going to be. And think about all of the industries that are influenced by weather, but aren't really incorporating that into their forecasts. I think car wash is a great example where they'll be using that data, and they'll say, hey, look, we've got, certain types of weather patterns happening tomorrow that's going to impact our demand. How do we offset that? How do we take advantage of that? So if we know it's going to snow, then maybe we want to offer a different service because of the salt that's going to be on the road. If it's going to be sunny, then we want to adjust our marketing accordingly. And so you can do that in real time when you have real-time data. And I think that's going to be a key theme over the years ahead, is adjusting your messaging in real time using all of the real-time data that you have.
Yeah, that would be, fascinating if you could push some notifications as the weather dynamics are kind of happening, right? And you're like, okay, I know I'm looking at my marketing plan for the week. I know on Thursday it's going to do this. It's going to rain. So I want to do like a message around my rain guarantee, my rain 100% satisfaction guarantee. And I can then line that up using the data, using the forecast, bringing this stuff all together. I think that's super fascinating. And it's a different way to think, frankly. It's really not that easy.
Yeah, it's taking advantage of all this data and thinking about things in terms of what the data is going to produce, what the environment is going to produce. So using your example again, if you look at the forecast and you see it just rained, but it's not going to rain, or it's not anticipated to rain for another week, then your messaging could go out and go, hey, now's a great time for a car wash because you're going to get to enjoy it for a whole week. There's going to be no rain for the week ahead, according to the forecast. So there's a lot of things that will be impacted by that. The The product that you're offering changes because of the weather. The marketing and messaging that you share changes because of the weather. And think about all the other technology we've brought into these environments. We've got digital displays. The information on that can be dynamic. It can be robust, and it's going to change in real time based upon all different types of factors: the time of day, the day of week, the weather. All of that information is going to adjust what shows up on those display boards moving forward. We kind of started by incorporating these digital display boards or other technology, but we didn't really change what we were doing. We just took what used to be printed on a board and then we made it digital, right? And now that's going to change even further because it allows us to be adaptive and dynamic. And I think you're going to see companies really harness that capability.
Well, and even down to, down to being able to say, oh, this is Matt coming back. This is his historic level of purchases. Let me show you all of these things. Based on these 5 factors, I think Matt's probably going to want this. So I'm going to show him that and give him that opportunity to make that purchase and make that upsell without any human interaction. No human had to do anything.
Totally. And that is, in a nutshell, what artificial intelligence is going to enable all of us to do. So the fuel for AI is all of this digital data. It's all of this information. And if you think about your business, you have a tremendous amount of proprietary information. You know information that nobody else knows. So weather patterns, all these things, that's going to be essentially public domain information. Everyone's going to have access to it. But how many times Matt has been through the car wash? What services he got last time? All of that is proprietary information. So you're going to feed that into your AI systems. And what AI ultimately empowers, it makes prediction cheap and inexpensive. And when we get something that's cheap and inexpensive, we use it all the time, right? We're going to waste it essentially. So you're going to be making all of these micro predictions about when Matt's going to come back, what Matt's going to do the next time he shows up. So all of these predictions are going to be empowered by the data that you probably already have.
Yeah. You
may not be capturing it, but you have it. And in the future, you will be capturing it. You will be feeding it back into the business.
Well, let's go. Okay, so let's talk about that a little bit, right? Because with all of this data that's coming in and trying to figure out how to do something with it, like, how do we in the car wash industry set ourselves up for success? Like, do we need to go out? Are we hiring like data analysts? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think that's a great challenge for businesses, especially smaller businesses, is who's going to do all of this, right? Who's going to do all of the data analytics? And in some ways, I joke that we're all data scientists now. We're all going to have this data available to us, and now we need to figure out what to do with it. So some of the systems that we will be employing in the future will help with that. And a lot of times when I talk with other businesses and other industries, it's the chief operating officer or it's the small business owner. It falls to them, and they'll need to work through that. But data science is definitely something that's going to stay with us, and we're going to have to figure out what's valuable, what's important to look at as we, again, kind of feed it back into the system. That's the important thing here, is we want to empower the data to be able to make decisions in the environment. And I think over time, a lot of that will start to happen autonomously. So we're going to let the data, we're going to empower the data to make decisions for us. What messages Matt should get, maybe what pricing Matt is seeing. Mm-hmm. There's no reason why we can't customize the pricing for each individual user based upon the type of vehicle they drive, perhaps, how frequently they're coming. If you look at other industries, airlines, for example, when we all fly to Vegas to go to the show, yep, we're going to have the opportunity to buy different seats.
Yeah.
And all of those seats have different pricing. And the airlines have figured out which seats have the strongest demand and where there's a willingness to pay for those given seats. And so the same thing's going to come to every industry. Think about that with car washes, where you're going to be able to customize each individual decision and allow the data to play a role there.
Well, and the part of this really gets back to a kind of a core component of car washing, which is creating a really excellent experience. for the consumer, right? For the person who's buying that wash. And I think being able to be smart about your data, being able to like set yourself up for success now, because this stuff is happening and it's happening fast. So you kind of got to get there if you're not there already with buying into some of this stuff. One of the other technologies that has come up in the wash world here recently is license plate recognition, right? So that's, the camera can see your plates, it knows who you are. This feeds into that whole chain. What beyond we use them right now to identify customers, whether or not they're a monthly unlimited plan holder. What else should we be doing? Like, what else is possible in that realm?
Yeah, I mean, clearly it ties into your subscription programs, and it allows you to create a much more seamless experience for the customer because it creates an autonomous environment where the customer can go forward. But now imagine all the information that you have about that customer when you see them pull up in that vehicle. You might know what language they prefer. You might know the pronouns that they prefer. And think of all the customization that you could produce. You could address them in the language. You could mention that the last time they were there, they received X, Y, and Z service. Or perhaps you say they didn't receive this. Hey, last time you were here, you didn't opt for this. And we think you should now. We recommend every other cycle or whatever. And so you can upsell the customer by personalizing that experience. And I think what we're going to see is mass customization, right? Customization for the individual, but doing it at scale. That's what all of this digital information is going to enable. As if, it's Cheers and we're walking in and everybody knows our name. You're going to know their name. You're going to know their history, their record, and you're going to be able to provide a very personalized, customized experience and also a seamless experience for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about being able to just cruise on up and then to take out all of that uneasiness, like if you're a Spanish-speaking person primarily and you pull up and it's all in English the first time, that's jarring, right? Like that creates friction, the kind of friction you don't want in a car wash. And so if you can welcome them and greet them in that language, I mean, that would be fascinating to be able to just change the menu on the fly, speak to someone in their language, give them the right options, like use all that data to make me feel like I'm making the choice, but really the machine made the choice for me, right? Like I had nothing to do with it.
And it's all about leading the customer down this path, right? Down the purchase path. It's the customer journey. You see other companies already starting to do this. So McDonald's is a great example. A couple of years ago, they bought a company called Dynamic Yield for, they think around $300 million. Biggest purchase McDonald's has made in 20 years. It's not another food company. It's not another restaurant. It's a data analytics company. And so one of the things that it does is it customizes those display boards. As you go through the drive-through, it will customize the offerings for that individual. Or in the app, as they know and get used to your historical use, they can offer you special options. They can offer you deals on certain things. Maybe they're pushing a certain product that you haven't tried yet. They can offer you that deal, as opposed to the old way of doing business where we blasted the same coupon to every single household. Now you can really customize and personalize that. And to your point, using something like a license plate reader, right as soon as they pull into the business, you know everything about them, you know the language that they prefer, and you can address them. And if you're the customer, that's a wonderful experience where you're getting addressed in your preferred language. And you're able to kind of make a decision or be led down a series of decisions. Also, you think about it from a business stand owner, you're going to accelerate the process of that, right? Yeah. You're going to move them more quickly through because they're going to feel comfortable with the decisions that are being made. And that's where you really be able to grow your business, is because you're going to get people moving through more quickly.
Well, yeah, that's fascinating because we're taking the humans out of it, which honestly, like right now is not a bad thing because it's hard to find people to work in general. So if you think about what's the future look like in this industry, and as you kind of look towards automation, these data pieces are going to be the things that connect that bridge for us. So it'll bridge that gap from having a human attendant who's having this conversation and upselling and getting people to buy into these monthly unlimited programs. Well, now it's going to be the combination of digital signage, maybe some voice attendant stuff, maybe it's just all the sensors, all the cameras, all of that's going to come together to create this really like human-like experience. Like I think you and I were talking about the Google Assistant, right? Share that story for anybody who hasn't heard it.
Sure. So Google has been working on essentially a platform, a program that allows you to book appointments autonomously. So it is a digital agent. And typically the way we interact with digital agents today, Alexa, Google Home, others, is we speak to it and then it speaks back. But Duo, which is Google's platform, will go out and make appointments for you. They'll make calls for you. And so you could imagine that they might call in to a car wash, make an appointment for a car wash, or they might call in to see how busy they are or to see any other number of options. So they're going to do that autonomously using digital agents. And so when you're on the receiving end of that, as the car wash, you're going to need to be able to respond to not only human inquiries, but also these digital inquiries that are going to be coming in. And you've got great challenges, right? You've got apps. People want to use apps. You've got websites. You've got telephone numbers. You need to be able to manage all of this across the board. And technology is what's going to help you do that. There's going to be platforms and systems that you're going to be able to do to manage all of your inbound inquiries, as well as control and customize your outbound communication. So you're going to tie all of that together. Matt, I think you were really alluding to it. It is the data that is going to be the glue that binds all of these things together and really empowers them. So it's one thing, again, to kind of take what was a physical board and make it a digital display. But it's the next step to really customize that digital display for each individual car. And that's really, I think, what defines the years ahead. The next decade is customizing those experiences so that every vehicle has a unique experience. And they won't necessarily know that it was a unique experience.
Right.
They won't know that it was customized for them. And so I think that's a key element here is how you can personalize and customize your experience for each individual customer.
Yeah, they might not know as long as we're doing it right, right?
That's right. Yeah. And there is a great challenge with all of this, right? You get really quick right now towards what I call the creep factor. Okay. If I pull into a car wash and it's like, hey, Shawn, we noticed that you haven't been here for 24 hours and 32 minutes. I mean, that level of precision that the data enables can feel a bit creepy. So we're going to have to work on how we leverage all of the data and provide a meaningful experience without freaking people out. And it'll take some time. I think of this as a gradual move towards automation. Is we're going to move there in steps as we get there. And all of us have had this experience where like, oh, that's a little bit creepy. They know a little bit too much about me. And we hate when we look at something online, maybe we even buy it online, and then we still have these advertisements chasing us. So you don't want that to happen, but you do want to be able to customize and personalize in very subtle ways. And I think that's, another key aspect of data is it can allow a subtleness that we're not quite harnessing yet.
Well, Shawn, I apologize for all of the car wash show ads that you've been getting then from us, because as you get ready to speak at the show, you have undoubtedly gotten remarketed from us. So, part of the game, right?
I love those ads. You can send me all of those ads. I look forward to seeing everybody in November. I hope that if you see this video and you see me in November, that you come up and say hello, and we can talk a lot more about all of these things.
Yeah, it's going to be a fantastic conversation. We're all really looking forward to getting back together in person. And one of the most valuable pieces of any car wash show is the education. And so being able to bring in folks like you, Shawn, is really valuable for us. So we appreciate you being willing to come in and speak to our folks and share your story and get us all thinking a little bit differently. We're super excited.
I'm totally excited to be there in November, and I'm excited for the future of this industry. Yeah. I think there is so much awesome potential. I think that digital data, that artificial intelligence, that technology is going to drastically transform what you do. And I think there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity in there. So I'm really excited to see where you all take this moving forward.
Awesome. Well, Shawn, thanks so much for being on the show. We'll see you in Las Vegas in just a couple of months. And then for those of you watching at home or from your device or from, the break room at your wash, wherever you might be, if you want to see more stories like this, more inspirational stuff, more just thought-provoking material, you know where to do that. That's at carwashmagazine.com. And guess what, friends? When you're out there this week and you're registering for the car wash show and you're also killing it washing cars, there's just one thing you've got to do, and that is keep it clean.
I'm just having a